The night was quiet, too quiet. The ruined temple stood in silence, its broken walls covered with moss and shadows. A cold wind moved through the empty halls, whispering like forgotten voices. On the cracked stone floor, a young alien girl sat alone. Her skin, once glowing with life, now looked pale and tired. Her silver hair fell across her shoulders, tangled and heavy. Her eyes stared into the darkness, empty of hope. She had been a warrior once. She had marched with her people into battle, believing in honor and victory. But battles had no mercy. She remembered the screams, the fire, the betrayal. Her own people, her brothers, her sisters, had abandoned her when the fight was lost. They left her bleeding, left her broken, left her to die. For days she had waited, thinking someone would return for her. No one came. Hunger and weakness slowly stole her strength. She told herself it did not matter anymore. Maybe death was easier. Maybe silence was better than pain. Her hands shook as she pressed them against the cold floor. She whispered to herself, "It is over. My life is over." But then she heard it. Footsteps, soft at first, then stronger. Each step echoed in the empty hall. She lifted her head, her sharp ears twitching. Fear tightened in her chest. Was it an enemy? A scavenger? A beast coming to finish her life? Her heart raced. She wanted to move, to hide, but her body was too weak. Out of the shadows, a figure appeared. Not tall like her kind, not shaped like an alien warrior. It was a human, a man. His boots tapped against the stone, his armor simple but strong. He carried no weapon in his hand, but his eyes were sharp, watching her carefully. His face was calm, yet filled with something she could not understand. The girl's voice cracked, weak and bitter. "Come to kill me, human." The man stopped a few steps away. He did not answer at first. He only looked at her, truly looked at her, as if he could see the pain buried in her soul. Then, slowly, he shook his head. "No," he said softly. "I came to save you." She blinked. The words felt like a lie. Her own people had left her behind. Why would a human, her enemy, choose to save her? "You're lying," she whispered, her throat dry. The man walked closer and knelt before her. His voice was steady but kind. "You think your life is over. But it isn't. Not yet. I will not let you die here, alone." Her chest tightened. Anger, confusion, and fear all fought inside her. She wanted to scream at him, to push him away. But when she looked at his hand, outstretched toward her, she froze. His hand was steady, strong, warm. The alien girl stared at it, trembling. Memories of betrayal filled her mind. Her people's backs turning as they abandoned her. Their voices telling her she was useless, weak, not worth saving. And now here was a human, an enemy groom, offering her his hand. "Why?" she asked in a broken whisper. "Why would you do this?" The man's eyes did not move away. "Because I see someone who still wants to live. Because no one deserves to be left behind." Her heart pounded. She did not want to believe him. She could not trust him. Yet deep inside, a tiny spark flickered, a spark she thought was gone forever. Hope. The silence stretched. The only sound was the wind moving through the broken temple windows. Finally, her hand, weak and shaking, lifted, slowly, hesitant, afraid. And then she touched his hand. Warmth spread through her, like fire waking a frozen soul. Tears filled her eyes, not from pain, but from something she could not name. She did not know if this human was a fool or a savior. She did not know if his promise was truth or a trap. But for the first time since her people abandoned her, she felt alive. He pulled her gently to her feet. Her legs shook, but he held her steady. His voice was low, almost a vow. "From this day, you are not alone." The alien girl stared at him, speechless. A human groom had saved her when even her own kind would not. Her story was not over. It was only beginning. The night air outside the ruined temple was colder than she remembered. The alien girl leaned against the human groom as they walked through the broken courtyard. Her legs trembled with every step. She had thought she would never rise again. Yet here she was, held by the strength of a stranger, an enemy. Each time she stumbled, his grip steadied her. He did not complain. He did not speak much. His silence was strange, but it carried weight, as if words were not needed. Still, her heart screamed with questions. Why was he helping her? Why risk his life for someone like her? At last, her voice, weak but sharp, broke the silence. You should have left me. I'm not your kind. I am your enemy. The man turned his head slightly, his eyes catching the dim moonlight. His face was unreadable. Enemy? Maybe once. But right now, you were just someone who needed a hand. And I had one to give. His words confused her more than any blade could wound. Her people had raised her to believe humans were selfish, cruel, weak. Yet this man's hand was steady. His steps never faltered. He treated her as if she was worth saving. Her chest tightened. Could it be a trick? A plan to use her against her people? Or was it something else? Something she could not yet understand? They moved through the forest paths until the broken temple was far behind. The girl's body begged for rest, but her mind burned with thoughts. Finally, she whispered, "You don't even know me. Why save me?" The human stopped walking. His back straight, his voice low, he answered simply, "Because I remember what it feels like to be left behind." Her breath caught. For the first time, she saw not a human groom, not an enemy, but another soul carrying scars. She wanted to ask more, but the weight of exhaustion pressed down on her. She closed her eyes and let silence fall again. By dawn, they reached the human settlement. The village was small, built with wooden houses and stone paths. Smoke rose from chimneys, carrying the smell of bread and fire. But as soon as the villagers saw her, green-skinned, sharp-eared, dressed in torn alien armor, everything changed. Whispers spread like fire. An alien here? She's dangerous. She doesn't belong. The girl's heart sank. This was expected. She had seen such fear before, in her own people's eyes when they turned their backs on her. She gripped the man's arm, prepared to run. But he stood tall, shielding her with his presence. "She is under my protection," he told the villagers firmly. His voice was calm, yet carried authority. "She is not our enemy. She is a survivor, and I will answer for her." The villagers muttered, some shaking their heads. A few stepped forward, eyes hard with suspicion, but none dared to challenge him openly. Slowly, the crowd dispersed, though their whispers lingered like knives in the air. The girl looked up at him, disbelief shining in her tired eyes. "You risked their anger for me?" He gave a small nod. "If they cannot see past fear, I will. If they cannot offer mercy, I will. That is my choice." Her lips trembled, but no words came. For so long, she had been unwanted, unseen. Now, in the heart of enemy land, one man stood between her and the world. He took her to his home at the edge of the village. It was a simple place, wooden walls, a warm fire, the smell of herbs and steel. He offered her water, food, and a blanket. She sat quietly, her mind in chaos. Why? Why would a human care for her more than her own people ever had? When she asked his name, he finally spoke it. Strong, simple, human. It felt strange on her tongue, yet safe in her mind. That night, as she lay on the small bed he gave her, the girl stared at the wooden ceiling. The warmth of the fire touched her skin. She remembered the temple, the moment his hand reached out. She remembered the spark that had returned to her soul. For the first time since the day of her betrayal, she did not dream of death. She dreamed of tomorrow. But deep inside, a shadow still whispered, "What if this is only temporary? What if kindness turns to cruelty?" The questions haunted her, but she held onto one truth. He had chosen to save her, and that choice had already changed her future. The days passed slowly in the human village. For the alien girl, each sunrise felt like a challenge. She had survived the temple and the long walk to this place, but survival was not the same as belonging. Every time she stepped outside, she could feel the villagers' eyes on her. Children hid behind their mothers when she walked by. Old men whispered words she could not understand, but their faces showed only fear and doubt. Even the dogs barked at her, as if sensing she was not one of them. The human groom, her rescuer, remained by her side. He gave her food, shelter, and safety. But he could not silence the whispers. He could not erase the suspicion. One morning, as she carried water from the well, two villagers stopped her. Their eyes were sharp, their hands resting near the knives on their belts. "You don't belong here," one said coldly. The other added, "Whatever kindness he shows you, it won't last. Humans protect their own, not enemies." The words cut deeper than any blade. For a moment, she wanted to drop the bucket and run back to the forest, away from all eyes. But then she remembered his hand, the warmth, the promise. She straightened her back, her voice quiet but firm. "I did not choose to be left behind, but I did not choose to hurt you either." The men muttered, shaking their heads before walking away. Still, the damage was done. Her chest ached with the familiar sting of rejection. Inside his home, she found comfort. The human groom treated her differently. He spoke to her as if she was equal. He showed her simple tasks: how to prepare bread, how to light the fire, how to mend torn clothes. At first, these tasks felt insulting for someone who once held a warrior's blade. But slowly, she realized there was strength in them too. Humans were strange. They valued care as much as they valued battle. They fought, yes, but they also built, healed, and protected. In her people's world, weakness was thrown away. In the human world, weakness was met with hands that lifted others back to their feet. At night, when the fire burned low, she often asked him questions. Why are humans so different? He would smile faintly and answer, because we survive better together than apart. Those words stayed with her. Together. Her people had never believed in such a thing. And yet, she had seen him stand against his own villagers just to keep her safe. One evening, while gathering wood near the edge of the village, she heard voices in the forest. Familiar voices. Sharp, commanding, cruel. Her heart froze. She hid behind a tree, her breath trembling. In the distance, she saw shadows, tall figures with glowing armor, weapons strapped across their backs. Her people, they were searching. She could hear them clearly. The girl must be dead. If she is alive, she is nothing but a traitor. Better to finish her before she brings shame to us all. Her knees weakened. Once those voices had been her family. Now they were hunters, waiting to erase her existence. She wanted to run, to scream, to hide. But then she remembered the human groom's words. "You are not alone." That night, she told him what she had heard. His expression turned grim, but his eyes never wavered. "So they want you dead?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered. "They will not forgive me. Not for failing. Not for being with you." He stood up, his hand resting on the hilt of his blade. His voice was steady like stone. "Then they will face me first." Her eyes widened. "You would fight them? For me?" He looked at her without hesitation. "You are under my protection. Until my last breath." Her heart ached with something new, something she had never felt before. It was not just gratitude. It was not just relief. It was something deeper, something dangerous. For the first time in her life, she wondered if hope could grow into something stronger. That night, as she lay awake, she realized the truth. She was no longer just a stranger among humans. She was something more, something fragile but powerful. A bridge between two worlds. But bridges can break. And she knew the day was coming when her people would find her. Would she run back to them? Or would she stand with the human who had already risked everything for her? The question lingered in the air, heavy as the silence before a storm. The forest was restless that night. The wind carried whispers, and even the trees seemed uneasy. The alien girl sat by the fire in the human groom's home, her hands wrapped around a wooden cup of warm broth. The flames danced in her eyes, but her thoughts were far away, back to the voices she had heard in the woods. Her people had not forgotten her. They had not forgiven her. The door creaked open, and the groom entered, carrying bundles of wood on his shoulder. His armor was dusty, his face calm, but his eyes studied her carefully. He had learned to read her silence. "They're close, aren't they?" he asked quietly. She lowered her gaze. "Yes. I know their ways. If they're searching, they will not stop until they find me." He set the wood down and knelt beside her. His hand rested gently on her shoulder, steady and reassuring. "Then let them come," he said firmly. "This time, you will not face them alone." Her heart twisted. Part of her wanted to believe him. Part of her feared the storm his words invited. The storm arrived sooner than expected. At dawn, the village bells rang, sharp, urgent, alarmed. The girl rushed outside with the groom. Villagers gathered in the square, fear in their eyes. And there they were, her people. Tall, armored, and proud, a squad of alien warriors stood at the edge of the village. Their glowing armor caught the rising sun. Their weapons gleamed with deadly light. At their front was Commander A.R. Len, a figure she knew too well. He had once been her leader, her teacher. Now his eyes burned with cold fury. The villagers whispered in fear. Some reached for weapons, others pulled children back into their homes. The groom stepped forward, hand on his blade, placing himself between the aliens and his village. A.R. Len's voice cut through the air like a blade. Return the girl to us. She is a failure, a disgrace to her kind. She has no place among humans. The alien girl felt her knees weaken. His words pierced her deeper than any wound. She wanted to scream, to tell him he was wrong, but the shame of her past chained her tongue. The groom's voice answered instead, strong and steady. She is under my protection. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. The commander's eyes narrowed. You protect a traitor? Foolish human. She will bring only death to your people. Gasps spread through the villagers. Some turned to the groom with fear in their eyes. Is it true? They whispered. Is she dangerous? The girl stepped forward, her voice trembling. I'm not your enemy. I did not ask to be abandoned. I did not ask to be saved. But I will not go back to those who left me to die. Her words shook with pain, but her eyes burned with new fire. Idolin Sneret. You speak like one of them now. You're no longer ours. The groom drew his blade, its steel catching the light. He stood firm, his stance unyielding. Then let her choose. Not you. Not me. Her. The crowd fell silent. All eyes turned to her. The moment hung heavy in the air. Her heart pounded. For years, her life had been dictated by others. Leaders, commanders, traditions. Even her abandonment had been chosen for her. But here, in this human village, a man gave her something no one ever had. A choice. She lifted her chin, her voice steady. I choose to stay. I choose my future, not my chains. The commander's eyes flashed with rage. Then you are dead to us. He raised his hand, and the alien warriors drew their weapons, their armor glowing brighter. The villagers cried out. Some raised bows, others shields. The groom stepped closer to her, his voice low but fierce. Stand behind me. But she shook her head, gripping the wooden staff she had been using to walk. Her voice carried across the square. No, if they call me a traitor, then let them see I am more than what they abandoned. For the first time, she stood not as a broken outcast, but as someone ready to fight for her place. The air thickened with tension. Steel against steel, heart against heart. The past had returned, and it demanded blood. The first clash was about to begin. The village square burned with tension. Human villagers clutched their bows and spears, their hands shaking, but their eyes determined. Across from them, the alien warriors stood like statues of fire and steel, their glowing armor pulsing with menace. And in the middle, caught between two worlds, stood the alien girl, her heart beating like a war drum. Commander A.R. Len's voice roared. Last chance. Return to your people, or be destroyed with them. Her legs trembled, but she forced herself to stand tall. Her gaze slid to the human groom beside her. His sword gleamed in the morning light, his stance unwavering. He was ready to fight an entire squad alone if that was what it took. Her chest tightened. He would die for me. For a moment, her thoughts swirled like a storm. If she returned to her people, perhaps she would live. Perhaps the shame of betrayal would fade. But deep inside, she knew the truth. They did not want her. To them, she was already dead. The villagers whispered in fear. Some begged the groom to surrender her. She's not worth the blood, one cried. Give her back before we all suffer. The words stabbed her like knives. She wanted to scream that she was worth something, but her voice caught in her throat. The groom stepped forward, his voice cutting through the chaos. She has chosen to stay. If you threaten her, you threaten me. And if you threaten me, you threaten all of us. His courage was a spark. The villagers, though afraid, lifted their weapons higher. They stood at his side, not out of love for her, but out of loyalty to him. And yet, in that moment, she realized something. He had given her a place among them by claiming her as his own. Idleness near deepenet. You protect weakness. That is why your kind will always fall. The girl's anger ignited. She gripped the wooden staff in her hands until her knuckles burned. Her voice rang out, sharp and fierce. I'm not weak. You left me to die, but I am still here. You think strength is abandoning the fallen? Then you know nothing of true strength. Her words struck like arrows. For the first time, the alien warriors hesitated. Doubt flickered in their eyes. Len, furious, raised his blade. Enough. If you stand with them, then you die with them. He charged forward, his soldiers following. The ground shook under their march. The villagers braced for impact. The groom raised his sword, fire in his eyes. But before the clash could strike, the girl leapt forward, planting herself between the two sides. Her staff slammed into the dirt with a thunderous crack. Dust rose around her. Her voice thundered with all the fury and pain locked inside her. I'm not yours anymore. I choose this place. I choose this hand that lifted me from the dark, and I will fight to protect it. Silence crashed over the battlefield. For the first time, the human villagers looked at her not with suspicion, but with awe. She was no longer just a stranger. They saw a warrior rising again. The groom stepped up beside her, his voice low but filled with pride. Then we fight together. The warriors advanced, but something shifted. They expected fear, surrender, weakness. Instead, they found unity. Humans and one alien girl, standing as one. Len's blade struck first, clashing with the groom's sword in a shower of sparks. The air filled with the sound of steel, shouts, and fury. The girl swung her staff with newfound strength, knocking a warrior to the ground. Villagers followed, arrows slicing through the air. The battle was fierce, desperate, and loud. But through the chaos, she felt clarity. This was her test, not of strength, but of loyalty. And she had made her choice. Even when a blade cut across her arm, even when her legs ached, she stood firm. Not for herself alone, but for the human who refused to abandon her. By the time the clash slowed, the ground was scattered with defeated warriors. Len, battered but alive, stared at her with burning hatred. His words were sharp as he retreated with his soldiers. You are nothing but a traitor. One day, you will regret this choice. But as the alien girl stood in the square, breath heavy, blood on her staff, and the groom's hand steady at her side, she knew regret would never come. For the first time, she was not left behind. She was chosen. The village smelled of smoke and blood. The first clash had ended, but peace did not return. Scouts reported that more alien warriors were on the way, an entire warband, not just a squad. The villagers gathered in the square, their faces pale, their hands trembling around their weapons. Fear was heavy in the air, thick as the coming storm. The alien girl stood at the edge of the firelight, her staff in hand. Her wound from the last fight burned, but she ignored the pain. She could not afford weakness now. The human groom sharpened his blade beside her, his eyes calm, yet determined. You don't have to fight, he told her quietly. You've already proven yourself. She shook her head, her silver hair catching the fire's glow. No, if I stop now, I will always be the outcast. This is not only your battle, it is mine. My people wanted me gone, but I will show them that the future I choose is stronger than the past they forced on me. His gaze softened. He did not argue. Instead, he handed her a short blade. Then fight with me. Not as an outcast. Not as an enemy. As my partner. Her hand trembled as she took it, but when the blade settled into her grip, it felt right. A new strength pulsed through her veins. At dawn, the warband arrived. The ground shook under their march. Their glowing armor lit the trees like fireflies in the fog. Dozens of alien warriors, their commander Len at the front, returned with fury burning in their eyes. The villagers lined up behind wooden barricades. Mothers shielded children. Old men stood ready with bows. Every heart beat in unison, waiting for the storm to break. A.R. Lin's voice thundered across the battlefield. Hand over the traitor, and your village will live. The girl stepped forward before anyone could answer. Her voice, clear and fierce, carried across the field. I am no traitor. I am proof that your strength is nothing but fear wrapped in steel. Today, you will see that abandoning me was your greatest mistake. Her words sent a ripple through the enemy ranks. For a moment, doubt flickered again in their eyes. But A.R. Lin roared, silencing them. Then die with your humans. The battle began. Arrows flew first, slicing the air. Some struck armor, others thudded into the ground. The aliens charged, their blades glowing, their war cries shaking the earth. The humans met them head-on, shields clashing, steel ringing. The girl moved like fire. The staff in her hand spun with deadly grace, striking an enemy across the helm. The short blade in her other hand flashed, cutting through weak joints in the alien armor. For the first time, she fought not for her people's approval, not for survival, but for her choice, her future. Beside her, the Groom fought with unyielding strength. His sword cut down enemies with precision, his stance protecting not just himself, but anyone near him. Together, they moved as if bound by the same heartbeat, her strikes covering his blind side, his shield catching blows meant for her. The villagers, inspired, fought harder. The battle was brutal, but something strange happened. The humans and the alien girl became one force, united. In the middle of the chaos, A.R. Lin cut through soldiers until he stood before her. His armor glowed brighter, his blade humming with deadly energy. His voice dripped with venom. You think this changes anything? You are still nothing. Her chest rose with defiance. I was nothing when I followed you. But with him, I'm everything you could never make me. Their blades clashed. Sparks burst into the air. Each strike rattled her bones, but she did not falter. She had carried too much pain to stop now. With every swing, she felt her strength grow, not the strength of her people's cold discipline, but the strength of loyalty, of unity, of love. The duel raged. A.R. Lin pressed her hard, his fury unrelenting. She staggered once, almost falling, but the Groom's voice cut through the noise. Stand tall. You are not alone. Those words gave her fire. She surged forward, her staff cracking against A.R. Lin's blade, her short sword slipping past his guard. Steel mit Fleisch. His cry tore through the air as he stumbled back, wounded, his glowing armor dimming. The enemy warriors hesitated, their commander weakened. The villagers roared, pressing harder. Hope surged like lightning through their ranks. By the battle's end, the war band was broken. Some fled into the forest, dragging A.R. Lin's wounded form with them. The field was littered with broken weapons and shattered armor. The villagers, though bloodied, stood victorious. The alien girl dropped to her knees, breathless, her blade slick with sweat and dirt. The Groom knelt beside her, steadying her shoulder. His voice was low, but filled with pride. You fought as one of us today. Tears stung her eyes, not of pain but of release. She had chosen, and her choice had been tested in fire. She had not only survived, she had conquered her past. In the silence after battle, the villagers no longer looked at her with suspicion. They looked at her with respect. For the first time, she felt not like a stranger, not like an outcast, but like part of something greater. The battlefield lay silent at last. Smoke curled into the pale morning sky, drifting above broken weapons and scorched earth. The cries of battle had faded, replaced by the quiet murmur of survivors. Villagers tended to the wounded, gathering in small groups to comfort one another. The village had endured. Against all odds, it had stood strong. At the center of it all, the alien girl knelt on the blood-stained ground, her staff resting across her knees. Her chest rose and fell heavily, each breath a reminder that she still lived. For years she had thought her life worthless, a mistake destined to be forgotten. But now, as she looked around at the humans who fought by her side, she realized her life had meaning again. The human Groom approached, his sword sheathed, his armor streaked with dirt and blood. yet his eyes were calm, steady, and filled with quiet pride. He reached out his hand to her, the same hand that had saved her in the temple, the same hand that had never let go. "You chose to stand," he said softly, "and today the village stood with you." Her throat tightened. She took his hand and rose to her feet. Around them, villagers stopped their work and looked at her differently than before. No longer with suspicion, no longer with fear. Their eyes held respect, even gratitude. One of the elders, his hair silver and his hands rough with age, stepped forward. "You fought for us when you had no reason to. You protected this place as if it were your own. From this day, you're no stranger. You are one of us." The words pierced her heart. She had been abandoned, cast out, forgotten by her own people. And now, in a world not her own, she had been given something greater than she had ever hoped for: belonging. That night, a great fire burned in the square. The villagers celebrated their survival with food, song, and stories. Children who once hid from her now laughed nearby, daring each other to sit closer to the alien warrior. She smiled faintly, though her heart was still heavy with the memory of her people's hatred. The groom sat beside her, handing her a piece of warm bread. "You're quiet," he said. "I am thinking," she replied. Her voice was low, almost uncertain. "All my life, I thought strength meant following orders, never questioning, never breaking. But now I see, strength is choosing. Strength is protecting, even when no one expects you to." He nodded. "And you chose well." Her eyes lifted to the stars above. Somewhere out there, her people still lived, still called her a traitor, still wished her dead. The thought no longer crushed her. It no longer defined her. She had chosen differently, and in that choice, she had found freedom. When the fire burned low and the village grew quiet, she and the groom stood apart from the crowd. The night air was cool, the sky alive with constellations. She turned to him, her voice unsteady but filled with something new. "You saved me when I had no reason to be saved. You gave me a future when I thought mine was gone. I don't know what comes next, but I know I will face it with you." He met her gaze, steady and unwavering. "Then we face it together." Slowly, she placed her hand in his. The gesture was simple, yet it carried the weight of everything they had endured: betrayal, despair, battle, and hope. For the first time, she felt no fear in touching another's hand. No hesitation, no doubt. The girl who had once been left to die had found her future in the hand of a human groom. And as the dawn broke over the village, painting the world in gold, she knew this was not the end of her story. It was the beginning of a new one.